I heard Zander ask that question. Let's start the show off with that. Zander joins us each and every single day, 3:30. Don't forget, you can catch him at Birds365. Please hit the like button if you can. Here is our friend, Zander Krause. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Big Sills? How you doing?
Zander, I don't know if you opened the show, but I think it was one of the first things you said this morning on Birds365. Will the RPO be back? In your opinion, will the RPO be back?
Better be back, right? I mean, that's what Jalen Hurts was best at, but I don't know for sure. I mean, I hope. Geez, I hope. Because if you don't bring back the RPO, then what's the offense look like? Is it play action? That's what Kellen Moore likes to do. So I would hope the RPO is in there. That's where Jalen Hurts thrives, and that's what I want them to get back to for sure.
So you think they're going to run him as much as they've been running him the last 3 years? Over 150 attempts.
Yeah, I do. I do.
I
don't know if it's sustainable, but do they care?
I don't know.
I mean, I would rather Jalen, and we talk about this all the time. Everybody talks about this. I'd rather they get 8 years of Jalen at his best, using his legs, using his athleticism, and all those things, than get 15 years of turning him into something he's not. He's not Justin Herbert. That's not the style of quarterback he is. That big drop back, that big play action pass guy. That's what Kellen likes to do. He did that a lot with
6'6".
Yeah, he did that a lot with Dak too. Remember how good that Dak running offense was when Kellen was there. So I'll be all right if they use some of that, but they can't get rid of the RPO. Even if you don't want Hurts to run as much, you have to have it there and give him the ability to do it to keep defenses on their toes.
Under Shane Steichen for the 2 years, and it was a great poll by you yesterday. Hurts at 5.6 a carry, then 4.6 a carry. Not horrible, okay? A drop-off. Really, in the 2 years that he was under Shane, he averaged about 5 yards a carry. So every 2 carries, he was picking up first downs. And what else was notable about that? That kept you in 3rd and short. The majority of the time when you were in 22, you were either 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, and the tush push became even more prevalent because you were basically 1st and 9. Think about how crazy that is and what an advantage that is to have.
It's a huge. That's actually what I'm most excited for about Saquon Barkley, right? Like that's where I think it makes it actually easier on Jalen Hurts. If he can get 4 yards on first down every time, I mean,
Jalen's the one that scares me though. He doesn't.
Yeah, but we have never had the benefit of having a defense with Jalen Hurts have to plan for the running back. You can't just leave Saquon out there.
Miles Sanders had 1,300 yards and 13.
Yeah, but Miles Sanders didn't strike fear in defenses.
You think he does?
I think he does more, yes. Absolutely.
I think he does more in the
past. You think Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders are comparable runners?
No. I think he's a little better.
I mean, remember, any running back that comes here is going to do pretty good with that offensive line.
Oh, I think he's going to do outstanding.
Right. 600 to 800 yards given right there with the offensive line. Agreed. As long as you're the one back and you're getting that many carries. I think Saquon brings the higher upside, yes. I think he has that breakaway playability, that home run playability that other backs. Now, I thought DeAndre Swift had it. I was a big DeAndre Swift guy, maybe because we went to the same high school. DeAndre glasses.
Hey, but Zander, he got an $8 million raise.
What's that?
He got an $8 million raise. It wasn't like everybody thought he had a market. And it was supposedly, according to John McMullen, they offered him money first before they offered Barkley money. And he offered him that contract. Now they lowballed him. And he went up and got that 8 up in Chicago instead of the 6 they offered him here. Then they went up and they upped the deal to 9 for Barkley. So it kind of worked its way around where they even thought he was better. So
I still think Saquon's a better player than
I do too.
DeAndre.
I do. I think he's more versatile at it. Okay. This last year, though, when they implemented that new offense that they wanted from the pocket, he averaged 3.8 a carry.
Yeah, because it wasn't built for his run at all.
At 200 yards less.
Jalen definitely made a little bit more business decisions last year, which sometimes I get on him at, and then sometimes I understand it where it's like you do want to live to see another down, right? Like I used to say that about the check down. just check the ball down and live to see another play. Same thing with putting your body on the line. If it's the playoffs, or if you're trying to clinch, or you're playing Dallas or whatever, and the moment is big, Jalen's going to take it. But when you're up 33-13 on the Panthers, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No.
So he did take a lot of knees behind the line of scrimmage last year. So that probably affected that number.
I noticed it in the New England game. I thought he made the very first game he made. Nick goes like this, comparing Sanders to Barkley's nuts, not close. I'll tell you what, I'll remind you of that, Nick. If Saquon Barkley doesn't get 1,300 yards this year and 14 touchdowns, I'll remind you of that.
See, are all yards created equal, though? Because I believe that Saquon
that Sanders yardage got them to the Super Bowl, too.
I'm saying, though, I believe Saquon Barkley can get 1,300 yards, 1,500 all-purpose yards, but I believe there'll be more valuable yards than Miles. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Than Miles Sanders,
yes.
Right? Like bigger moments, closing out games, when you need the yards. Some yards are more important than other yards. When we need a first down, when you need to ice a game because you have a lead on the Ravens, late in the fourth quarter. Those are the moments I think Saquon Barkley is going to be the most effective for the offense. And it takes a lot of onus off Jalen Hurts, which is a good thing. You don't want too much on Jalen Hurts.
Let me go to something else that I hear people say, and I hear it said on your show and other shows, and I hear there's a lot of people that say that. How much stock do you put after hearing what Tom Brady says about individual achievement versus team accomplishment when you hear that metric that they use with Hurts that, well, he got to a Super Bowl. And that seems to be because if you took that metric away from him and you looked at his 3 seasons, I mean, I don't see exceptionally special outside of 22. I see one really good season, and I see the rest of them being growing, not horrible.
Jalen, you mean?
Yeah,
for Jalen Hurts?
Growing. Because I could say this to you, Rex Grossman, Jake Delhomme, Trent Dilfer, Colin Kaepernick. You go down the list of people that have gotten to a Super Bowl. But why is that metric so important to Eagle fans? Because that, as Brady said, that's not an individual accomplishment, dude. That's a team accomplishment.
It's validation, right? I mean, these guys fight for their guys. They fight for their players, and the individual accomplishments are the validation for the player. We should care more about the team, absolutely, but that's why. It's also a business. These guys get paid on numbers. So
they don't get paid on wins.
I know they don't. And fantasy football plays into it, and all these, betting and prop bets. Like this sport is built on numbers. So I agree with Tom. It's a team game, and you want to put the team accomplishments first, but you're never going to remove the personal accomplishments of the game. No.
But that, to me, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts was Jalen Hurts paid because they went to the Super Bowl, or because Jalen Hurts got paid for numbers? Because if that's the case, those numbers were nowhere in 22 compared to the rest of the league.
Well, he got paid for the whole body of work. I mean, he's still the leader of the ship.
Team winning into it.
Definitely.
Okay.
For a quarterback?
Do you think Kirk Cousins got that $54 million contract based on team winning or numbers?
Yeah, numbers. But that doesn't mean you don't need to have the team winning. Kirk Cousins has never won in his career. So you pay that guy for different reasons than you pay Jalen Hurts.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that means you're more beholden to the front office to put a good team around you, because if you don't have good coaching, a good team around you, that guy's going to look like he did. And the two differences are 22 and 23 is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, every team in the NFL.
Coaching at 22, worse coaching at 23.
I don't agree with you on this at all. Every team in the NFL.
They didn't have better coaching at 22?
No, they did. I'm saying every team in the NFL is counting on their front office to build a good football team. It's not just having a good player. So that's a dumb argument that Jalen got paid because his team succeeded because his front office put a good team around.
It wasn't anything he did numbers-wise. You just said they're paid on numbers.
Yeah, but what's your point?
My point is that he was paid on team accomplishment in 22 too. Most of these, you think Kyler Murray's been paid on team accomplishment?
No, they're paying him on talent alone. And how's that working out for him?
Oh, I didn't see. Now we're moving the sticks. I'm talking about guys getting paid.
Well, yeah, they definitely got paid for different reasons than Jalen Hurts got paid. I still think Jalen Hurts has that type of talent, though, so it doesn't bother me. I see where you're going, though. These guys haven't achieved anything in their teams or anything big, and they're getting paid the numbers.
So that metric of a Super Bowl matters a lot to you, even though other so that's like this. That Stan Humphries taking the Chargers to the Super Bowl, that should be held at a high regard, even though a guy like Fouts and Phillip Rivers never got to that game.
Yeah, I think every situation is different, though. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts was a huge part of the reason that team went to the Super Bowl. Do you not agree with that?
Yes.
You do, right?
Yes.
So Howie built a good team around him. There was good coaches around him. The organization did well. Jalen Hurts took the baton as far as they wanted him to take it.
That's my point about having the organization build a good team around you and good coaching. And that's why if you're putting all those metrics around him, when you don't have it in 23, that's what it looks like. No good coaching, lesser talent.
I don't even think he had lesser talent last year, especially on offense. He didn't. Who'd they lose? You could argue DeAndre was an upgrade from Miles Sanders.
And you know what? I don't really think the Seumalo loss was horrific.
Well, it wasn't because Cam Jurgens played so well.
Yeah, he was an alternate Pro Bowl guy. Yeah, he was an alternate Pro Bowl guy. All right.
I just think there's so much context to this. It's not something I can pull and be like, oh, they didn't pay Jalen off pure numbers, so it was a waste of money. No, they paid him on the whole body of work. Yes, his numbers aren't what the other numbers are, but it's also a different style of quarterback. He brings you different things than other quarterbacks bring you. Jalen Hurts brings you things that Kirk Cousins will never bring you.
If they implement them.
Well,
that was your topic. You said this morning.
Yeah, if they implement
it.
That's every team. That's what I mean. It takes a lot of things to go that far to win a Super Bowl. You need your front office. You need your coaches. You need your bench. You need everything to go to the Super Bowl.
Would you make of that soundbite I played of Brady talking about team accomplishments versus individual? And that's why I said this about your 23 Eagles. That thing was not team-oriented team accomplishment. That was individual achievement. That was on that team a year ago because everybody got paid, and that's exactly what Brady was talking about, and that's what I talk about all the time. That team did not show championship pedigree last year.
Well, who's the first player that comes to mind from the 23 Eagles? Who's the first player that comes to mind from the 23 Eagles?
Damn, I hate to do this, man, because I didn't think it was possible, but Reddick. Hey, you know what? It ain't Brown.
No, it's not Brown. It's not Brown. Everybody tries. It's not. Yeah, he is the one guy on that offense, more so than Jalen Hurts, that takes accountability when things went wrong. He was open. He was, now look, again, I'm not going to be mad if A.J. Brown does want to get numbers, or even Hassan Reddick does want to get numbers. But you have to be able to balance that with team success. And Hassan Reddick, I don't think he did that. And that's why I think the front office was very upset about his comments at the end of the year, where he's like, they took me out of my thing. I couldn't go and get my sacks and all that stuff, or whatever he said about rushing the passer and dropping into coverage. I think Vic Fangio was like, Howie, I don't need a guy like that. If you want to move on from him, go for it.
Okay, and here's a great comment here that goes into the next one. Well, that was last year's Sills. Okay. So I saw this topic, and so you believe that the Eagles, in your opinion, and Zander, I started thinking about it before I was going to ask you this, because you can land on a lot of pods of them deserving the benefit of the doubt this year. And here's why. Well, they won 11. They've been to 3 consecutive playoffs. I mean, end of the day, Sills, we're not talking about a team going 4 wins, 10 wins, 6 wins. We're talking about a team that's gone 9, 14, and 11. Okay? I mean, and you know what? And this goes back to somebody that you and I have a problem with, and that's the head coach. However, how don't they deserve the benefit? And maybe this is why people are giving them the benefit of the doubt of a year ago, because, hey, okay, we're going to go down the John McMullen route. Not winning Super Bowls, but I'll tell you what, They're winning ball games and they're around the rim, as Jerry Jones says. And I know that's not
Big
good.
Sills giving them the benefit?
No.
Is Big Sills giving the Eagles the benefit of the doubt?
I think you should have given Doug Peterson the benefit of the doubt too.
I agree with that. Oh, geez, I agree with that. Absolutely. I think the one big thing though that is fair, even as an Eagle fan, even as somebody who was accused all morning on Birds 365 of my Eagles colored glasses, which I'm all right with. I think that collapse was worrisome. And it's fair to question what went on there, why Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni couldn't. I'm not even asking to make a Super Bowl run, but can you beat the Cardinals and the Giants? Like they couldn't turn it around at all. You know, the Drew Lock Seahawks. I think it is fair to question that. Like what happened there? That was crazy. That was a historic collapse for this franchise. But overall, you're right. I mean, 3 straight playoffs for Nick Sirianni. That's why I kind of wonder why he played hardball so quick with the front office. I bet you Nick Sirianni would have been hired right away if you know, hypothetically he was let go at the end of the year.
So Nick gets the benefit for not winning a Super Bowl. Doug doesn't for winning one.
Yeah, it doesn't make any. Well, Doug didn't want to cater to the front office's needs.
Okay.
Yep.
Not to relitigate that. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened there.
I want to go to a comment that I think lingers and it will always linger. By the way, did we miss a super chat there, Nick? Because I thought we got them all.
Sorry, Nick. We'll get you.
If we didn't, I apologize.
Barkley in the 2022 Eagles and we win the Super Bowl. That's actually a fair point because Miles Sanders was putrid in that game. He had that bad rush in the first play of the game and he barely got any reps after that.
Yep.
Fair point. I mean,
okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that.
Apologies,
dude. I love that Jeff Kerr line. The Eagles will never be a consistent. And I took that comment that John McMullen said the other day, and he's right. You guys are going to be consistent winners. You're just not going to be consistent championship contenders because of what Jeff Kerr said. How can you be a consistent contender when you have 28 one-year or expiring contracts coming up at the end of this year where you're not going to be on that revolving door again?
Well, remember, there's part of this that's a positive thing because we're coming out of a major transition in this team from Carson Wentz. Also, a lot of old guys. So look at what's happening now, though. Jordan Mailata's under contract. Landon Dickerson's under contract for a long time. They're probably going to get the Cam Jurgens extension done. A.J. Brown's here for 2029. Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. You know, the list goes up. Jalen Carter will be coming next. I'm sure Jordan Davis is going to get an extension. Those are your new foundational pieces that Howie's identified. We're talking about guys that are going to be here through 2028, 2029. That's 5 years. Now, not everybody. I think they're still working to fill in those gaps of the people that are maybe they don't believe into that level or aren't that caliber of player. But I do think the transition is happening. I agree with what you're saying. Having guys on one-year deals every year is not really a recipe for success. But when you're transitioning to a new era of football, when you're transitioning with a 25-year-old quarterback that's getting paid like he is, there's a little bit of leeway there, right? I mean, there's got to be. That Howie, I think, has gone through, and I think it's starting to look really good. I mean,
I don't believe they built a championship.
Who's the biggest players right now on the one-year contracts that you're concerned about? Let me hear them, and then we'll talk about it.
All right. And I didn't write all 28 down.
Yeah, just the guys that were like, whoa.
Guys that are frontline dudes.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, that at the end of this year, these contracts. What are you going to do with Josh Sweat? You letting him walk?
I would let him walk, but you must have a plan, and either needs to be a first-round edge rusher. It needs to be a trade for a guy. I know he's not available, but a trade similar to the Giants just made for Brian Burns. Something like that. You got to have a replacement plan, but Josh Sweat is not.
That's a $25 million investment in 2s and 5s. How are we going to do that?
That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to ask for, but you think Josh Sweat's going to be back?
No.
I don't either. I think he's a one-year guy you let move. You got to have a plan, though, because that's an important position, man.
Okay, Brandon Graham. He's just a victory tour lap here. And
yeah,
thank you.
Brandon Graham will be gone.
Okay. How about this one here? You got Milton Williams on a 1-year expiring contract now. You got him in the starting lineup too in the 30 look. You got to put him in the 40 front too. And here's a guy here walking into his final season. And at the end of this year, his contract is up. And let me tell you this to you. If you let that guy roll into a season and he's starting to look like a Pro Bowler, and all of a sudden you got a guy in there, why in the fuck would I come back and go like this? Yeah, I'll give you a hometown discount mid-season, or I can go to the open market.
Right? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I just saw Javon Hargrave signed for $20 million with the 49ers. I might get $25 million.
You're talking about Milton Williams, right? I didn't hear you. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to be gone solely because of how the Eagles have played it. Like, it's not really in Howie's nature to let a guy go to that last year, that rookie contract, if he wants him signed. Devontae Smith didn't do it. Landon Dickerson didn't do it. You know, most guys that Howie signs that he wants to keep here don't go into that final year of their contract unless you're like a Derek Barnett where you haven't quite proved it yet, but you're contributing and they want to give you that chance to take the next step. So I would like to see Milton because I think he'd be a great depth piece. But here's the problem with Milton, specifically right here, right now. There's only so much to go around, and I'm sorry, Milton, but they just drafted 2 first-round defensive tackles.
That's not a reason to keep somebody over someone else.
No, but you're going to pay Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the next couple years.
Well, then you're going to sign the lesser player. I think Milton Williams has outplayed him in the last year and a half.
Who, Jordan Davis?
Yes.
I don't know if I would go there.
Baldy says that too. That guy did not deserve to be in
but the context is that he's had a much lesser role. He's coming in off the bench. He's got.
Are you saying that Jordan Davis didn't get more opportunity over Milton Williams because he's a first rounder, dude?
No, I'm saying he got just as much opportunity. He definitely got more opportunities than Milton Williams. So yeah, Milton made the most of his opportunity, but yeah, business of the NFL there, my friend. I mean, Jordan Davis is not a bust.
You're right, and I hate it. Maybe that's more where I am with it because the better player's not going to get the better job.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But that happens everywhere.
I'm okay with specifically with this position.
Okay.
Because I believe in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. I believe in them enough to say, I got to prioritize another position now. Maybe it's that edge rusher we just talked about because I'm going to pay Jordan and Jalen. I can use somewhat of a revolving door at that third DT.
So right now, you would give Jordan Davis a contract extension.
They're going to
$20 million.
They're going to after this year. Yeah.
No way. He has not earned $20 million. That is not a $20 million. That is not a $20 million a year defensive tackle.
Okay, here. So what are you going to do? You're going to let him walk out the door? You're going to play Jerry Jones ball?
Hey, I'm asking the questions here.
Let the deals pile up, and then you pay an extra $5 million a year for them?
I'm not going to throw money. They don't throw money after bad money over there on that side of the ball, too. You really think they're going to spend $20 million on a guy who's underachieved?
I think they're going to prioritize the defensive line on defense 100%, especially post Fletcher Cox, a guy who just was drafted here and retired here. They will invest in that position when they like their player. And I think they like the player.
Well, he has not lived up to him being what they thought he was going to be. And that is not $20 million. How about this one? So Devin White is on a 1-year deal. And we're kind of rooting for Devin White to have a good comeback. The business, we both think that that's probably a lot to do with it. He said it too, that it could have been, hey, I let the business of the game get in my play. And he did. He laid down in Tampa. What if he does come back and have a really good year? He's not going to stay in Philadelphia for $3 million.
No, and unfortunately, I don't think the Eagles will pay him. Because if you take a guy and you undrafted free agent a guy and you build him up in his career and you make him one of the best linebackers, maybe a top 10, top 12 guy, linebacker in the NFL, and you let that guy walk out the door for $7 million a year, why are they going to pay Devin White? They let TJ Edwards walk for that, a guy that they should take pride in. They developed him. When's the last time you saw the Eagles organization develop a linebacker?
A UDFA.
Jeremiah Trotter.
A UDFA. He was a UDFA too, man.
That's my point. So if you let him walk, I mean, maybe you'll learn from your mistake, but
no way.
I don't know.
How about this one? I know this is Vic's guy, Zach Bond. So let me get this right. There's a potential in your eyes that they're going to let Milton Williams, Devin White, Zach Bond, all from your front seven this year, starting this year. They're going to let them walk out the building. And like I said to Jeff Kerr's comment about building consistent championship rosters, the front seven, we're just talking about 3 guys here.
Yeah,
Three guys, and then you're going to replace both corners.
The only guy there who I think you should try and get the deal done with would be Milton. But my worry with Milton isn't so much my opinion on what they should do. It's more of what they've done and what I think they're going to do, right? Like if you haven't paid him, where's the guy up here who said, let me find him. Thanks for the chats, everybody. We appreciate when you guys chat in here. Shoot, where I can't find it now.
How he doesn't spend money on linebackers or safeties. That's correct. He didn't want to save it. He didn't want to spend it on Xavier McKinney. That's for damn sure. And he didn't want to spend it on Queen, who's 18-4 in Pittsburgh right now. That's a given.
So, El Yappa, thanks for joining in, brother. We appreciate your comments, as always, to everybody in the chat. He says Eagles ain't going to let Milton walk. But here's the thing. Why haven't they paid him yet? And now, like you said, you're walking into a year where if I'm Milton and I've already reached this point, I'm betting on myself, right? Because Fletcher Cox walked out the door, which means I'm going to get more snaps this year. Now I can play myself into a massive contract year, or I can get underpaid by the Eagles. Now, maybe he wants to stay. Maybe it's a Devontae Smith situation, but I think that deal would have already came to fruition. And
I agree.
So the later we get on Milton Williams, the more I would say he's gone. I don't think they're going to let the contract expire and then try and sign him in free agency. Here's a bad way.
Here's my concern with Milton. Isn't Milton Williams this 2024 version of Bryce Huff?
What in what way?
He didn't start. Huff had 1 season in his entire life with 10 sacks.
So you're saying Milton's
what
going to
if
be the
he
Huff
has 10 sacks and he gets out in the open market, and here's a guy that just gets the numbers and the ability to have the reps? The Eagles paid Huff off of 1 year because his years in New York, he didn't start. He never had high production at anything in tackles. So what if Milton comes in and puts 60 tackles up this year, 10 sacks? That's a $20 million a year guy.
Yeah, and he's going to take it elsewhere. The Eagles, it's not that I don't think the Eagles would want to go there. I just don't think they can do it. I think that they're going to have to prioritize. 1, we're talking about this expensive offense. And 2, you have a bunch of draft picks on the defensive line. I mean, they made a two draft in a row replacement plan for Fletcher Cox. They drafted 2 defensive tackles in the top 13 of the draft. Well, I mean, they're gonna pay those guys. I know they are.
Here's LJ saying Big Sil's going with hypotheticals. Well, it's a hypothetical that you think Bryce Huff's going to replace Hassan Reddick. That's a hypothetical.
That is, yeah.
That's a hypothetical, my friend. Okay? So you can say whatever you want.
All the money's on the offense, man.
That's right. Yeah. How he's playing a hypothetical. Oh, by the way, something else here to think about here. I think it gets a little better here. Let's move. I'm gonna go past Oren Burks. I think they'd let that dude walk out the room too. Okay, Micaiah Becton is on a 1-year deal. And hypothetically, plays right guard, whatever. Say one of the guys gets injured. He's in there and he puts up a great year, lives up to the reputation and the ability he has. Are you going to pay that guy $25 million?
No, but this is what makes me feel better about this conversation already, right? We've already reached in the 1-year deal department. We've already reached the backups on the offensive line. I agree. We should try and figure out back
end. Great point.
But here we go. If we were doing this exercise in Dallas, your starting quarterback, your number 1 wide receiver, and your starting edge rusher, Micah Parsons. That's who we'd be talking about.
It's a great point.
At that point, I'm like, okay, this is a problem.
Yep.
But when I hear Jalen's under contract, AJ, Devontae, Landon, Jordan, Lane, everybody's under contract that is a pillar of our team.
Yep.
I don't worry about it. But speaking of Mekhi Becton, just to answer, about the player, he's a guy I really like to keep here, but he's also another guy I don't know how you do.
Yeah.
Because unless he's willing to play that right guard, and the Eagles are good to move on from Steen or just let Steen ride the bench for a little bit, I don't think he's going to stay here long enough to see Lane Johnson retire, because I think he's going to get too much money on the open market.
Yeah, that's right. Like he could start 95% of the teams in the league.
You could argue his value has already went up just from the headlines of the Eagle camp.
Absolutely.
And he's working with Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland's comments on him alone are a thing that boosts the guy's value. Andre Dillard, what did that guy get paid? He's not even playing anymore. By the way, the guy that we drafted first.
Yeah, he signed a deal with Tennessee.
Yes. Funny enough, 2 years ago when we went to Camp Dan, we were talking about Jordan Mailata versus Andre Dillard in training camp. I remember.
I think they gave him a good contract. And he was a swing backup guy in Philly.
Yeah, and he stinks out loud. And he got what? How much money?
He got a really nice deal.
3-year deal worth up to $29 million. So he got nearly $10 million a year. Mekhi Becton's going to make 15 plus.
He was a backup
in Philly. Yeah. Coming off because he lost
$10 million as a backup. That's outstanding.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, how do you keep Becton?
And now that number could be 15 to 17 for a backup.
Yeah. How do you keep Becton in the room? What's the right way to do it? See, if it were me, I would probably, if he could do it, assuming he could do it.
I'd give him a little extra.
I would give him an extra, but I would put him at that guard spot. And then I would feel better just knowing that Steen is probably a guy you're going to let move out the building. Yep. By the way, Steen was drafted as a tackle.
Yeah.
Now, he's not going to be a tackle, I don't think, in the NFL, but he was drafted as a tackle.
He's a third
pick. I'd feel better with him on the bench, though.
He is a third rounder. You're just not going to let that walk around the room and go,
I know. You'll probably let him live out the contract and then move on. You keep him for depth.
Yep, something like that.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. You ready?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with Isaiah Rodgers?
See, I would try and get a deal done with him.
When? Now? Mid-season? Or are you going to let him walk into the offseason when, come January, 34-year-old Slay and the other guy may not even be on the team, and you got all them youngsters back there, and what if this guy is the guy everyone says he is, and this guy looks like he's a lockdown corner? Zander, that's a $20 million nut.
Yeah, but he's not going to be able to ask for that without proving it on the field.
Okay, well then why not bet on myself? Get out there. What if I open up the game against the Packers and I got 2 picks?
This is where organizations can hold players hostage. Why?
You have no leverage on him at the end of the year.
No, but okay, then he's not going to hit the field.
Why would I not put my better guy out there? Why? Can we
I'm
play
saying
politics?
I have Keely Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, and Isaiah Rodgers. Let's just say for a second, I like them all.
You're not going to play the better guy over money?
I like them all equally. They're going to give chances to those guys because they have a future in Philadelphia. Now, what I would do, you can't pay him now, right? You can't pay him off mini camp. You got to at least get through training camp. No, I think you get through training camp. If you go through training camp and Isaiah Rodgers has become your declared number 2 cornerback on this team, I would go to the drawing board with him. I would try and get him done for a 2-year deal because, remember, he's probably not going to want to go too long on this deal. He's probably going to want to get back on the open market at 28, 29, see if he can get that bigger deal.
How old is he?
He's 26.
He's 26?
I think he might be turning 27 pretty soon, though. Let me look that up for you. He's 26. No, so he'll be 27 January at the end of the year. So next year, following year, it'll be 27 and 28-year-old seasons. Get back on the open market at 29 years old, go and make that $30, $40 million. Can we get him done for 2 years at 20 million, 23 million, 24 million? Now I have a cornerback too. I leave myself resources. My young guys, because the next guy they're going to pay from that secondary is going to be Ringo. It's not going to be Mitchell or DeJean.
I would say
Ringo doesn't have the 5th-year option, and this will be his 2nd year. So after next season, they'll be looking to it, depending on obviously how he pans out. But I think they'll be looking to extend him.
Of these 10 guys I wrote down here, I got Avonte Maddox. They'll let him roll. Matt Hennessy, they'll let him roll. I would say that you have Milton Williams, you have Mekhi Becton, and Isaiah Rodgers. that you would have to hopefully out of these 10 guys, Milton is a good centerpiece. Micaiah, I think, could be a long-term investment. And Isaiah Rodgers, if he is what everyone says he is, and get this, if he goes into that Green Bay game as the opening day starter, do you understand his value goes from being a $2 million a year guy to at least north of $10 million right out of the gate?
Who is this you're talking about?
Isaiah.
Yeah.
That's
why I said if you can get it done right there on camp, but once you figure out, is this guy going to be my starter? Now what the other spot they could force him into is if you move Maddox to safety and Isaiah plays your slot. Slot corners aren't making $20 million a year. No. So that's where I think there's
safety. Well, what's his name? Xavier McKinney just signed for $17 million.
Yeah, but he's top of the market safety.
He is top.
I don't think he's the best safety out there, but at least he got paid like it. So,
okay. How about this one here? I'm going to roll this over here at you and get off this. So, how about the Jets? What they did today? Did you see what they did?
No, I did not. What did they do?
They signed Takkarist McKinley, former #1 pick edge rusher from the Falcons.
Interesting.
And they signed him with Reddick holding out. Now it's only $16,000 a day that it cost him. So the Jets have gone out and signed some insurance here. He was a former, I think it was the 28th pick in the draft a couple of years ago. Didn't really pan out down in Atlanta, but he's not that old. But still, when you see roster moves like this, Zander, most of the rosters are set right now because what?
Yeah.
Because you're up against the cap right now until you get guys that you cut in camp. So, I mean, how do you think this thing plays out with Hassan Reddick in New York? Do you think they move off him? Does he play this year? And again, did Howie get in front of the sticks the right way here with this? Because it does look like there's more of a headache right now with this scenario than what is being reported behind the scenes. I think there's more behind the scenes than what's being reported.
Yeah, no, I mean, this guy they signed, I don't think he's
no. I think it's just
I see what you're saying there. They're building out the practice players that they need.
It's the optics. It's the optics of it that they're looking for.
Yeah, you need bodies, right? You need bodies at practice, at camp, and all those things. So, I don't know how the hell this is going to play out, man. I don't think Hassan is going to forfeit, $14.5 million to go and play this year, but I don't know. I don't think the Jets are going to pay him.
They're not.
Right. They would have done it by now. Now, I don't know.
They probably are telling him, hey, let's see how it goes halfway through the season. And you know what? They may be looking to trade him during the trading deadline. You got to always remember something. There's really something that's odd.
How old is Reddick?
I think he's 29.
Yeah, he's 29, but he's going to be 30 in September at the start of the year.
Okay, here's what I would say.
That's why he's pushing so hard.
Here's why I got to tell you, you got to always be concerned about a player like this. Zander, how many edge rushers have you ever seen organizations just go like this? See ya. Arizona did it, Carolina did it, and now the Eagles in so many ways have done it. I mean, you don't see edge rushers and offensive linemen on the open market like that. I mean, look at what the guy Brian Burns commanded.
I know.
He commanded a 2 and a 5 year ago. The Rams wanted to give 2 1s to Carolina for him.
Yeah.
Now he gets $25 million in New York. You don't see that. Reddick, there's a problem in how coordinators see him.
Yeah, you're right. It's so true.
There's a problem there to this.
And by the way, that was one of your biggest things when we signed the guy. You're like, why is everybody so excited about a guy that 2 teams let walk out the door 2 years in a row? And you're right. I mean, there must be. I think the diva of Hassan might be true, and that's why you're seeing teams move on from him with the contract demands and the headache of it. Maybe the juice ain't worth the squeeze on him.
Yeah.
And 14.5, I'll take you, but at 25, brother, I'm out. Go find a new suitor. That's what it seems like is happening to him. Now, I'm still curious to see what he's going to do. Like, what
I don't think he's not going to not play because I'm not burning $15 million in a trash can, dude. And if there's no market for
but
me,
can he like show up and like not play so he gets his money? Like, how's that work?
How does that benefit you putting bad game on film for other teams to see? That doesn't help you. That doesn't. I mean, if you just show up and all of a sudden you want to be a dick and you don't want to play, and you go out there and you go half-ass through it, people are going to go like this. I'm not spending money on that. I don't think he has a market, Zander.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think it was a manufactured market.
And this is where the Jets have all the leverage because, like you just said, what are you going to do? You're going to show up and not play and then get no contract next year or veteran minimum, or you're going to play for $14 million, go out there and earn yourself another couple years of making in the 8 digits, make $10 million plus. If you don't play this year and you don't go out and put it on there, nobody's paying a 30-year-old edge rusher who hasn't paid $10 million plus. So that's where the Jets have all the leverage. And it's now become extremely apparent why Howie Roseman did not do that dance. Now there's talking about whether the player was worth it or not is a different conversation.
That's right. The production will be we'll know in December what that looks
exactly. Like. But this is why it takes 2 to tango, and the Eagles weren't willing to tango. I don't think.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. They didn't want to get in a squared circle and fight with him.
Yep.
All right. Last question for you, and this is personal for you. Or I'm asking you a personal question. Today, Merrill Reese won the Roselle Award.
I saw that. Awesome.
Given to a broadcaster that will be enshrined in Canton, Ohio. Cosell has won it. Cowboy has won it. Don Meredith has won it. All those people in the Monday night booth have won it. Some of the greatest broadcasters of all time. Hey, Harry Callis has won that thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. Your thoughts growing up listening to Merrill Reese, all your years being Eagle fans?
I am a massive Merrill Reese fan. I used to, when I was a kid, I would mute the TV and I would tune up the radio. And at this time, my dad is an old school media guy, right? He's been in media for 30, 40 years. And he used to grow up listening to the little box radio next to the bed. I forget
a little transistor.
A little black. Yeah, you twist the thing and you tune it up. So I used to tune it up. We would have one of them. Me and my brother both had one. And I would tune up Merrill, and I would mute the TV volume, and I would listen to Merrill for all my games. Now, the last couple of years, I haven't done that because I've been working, and you know what I mean? We're watching it in the green room, wherever we were. And just a tremendous voice. He's really become a pillar. It's almost fun to see, how a guy that is the voice of your team can become, it's like he become a part of the team, when I think of Merrill Reese, I think of the Eagles. I think of the team.
He is the voice of the team.
He's right. He is the Eagles. And, that's a big station and he has a big reach, and there's nothing like listening to a game with Merrill Reese. And, even just the Super Bowl call, then how happy I was. That was one of the biggest, right after that happened, we won the Super Bowl. A couple days later, I'm like, man, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm so happy Merrill Reese got to call a Super Bowl for the Eagles. He had the chance to say the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. That's awesome. And it was a long time before he got a chance to say that, and he nailed it. And it was awesome. It was really awesome.
Really.
Mark says, who's the first quarterback I remember? I remember McNabb, obviously. And I remember Mike Vick. Mike Vick was that was when I was really starting to grow up a little bit and getting older, and I would watch games for myself. And I was a big Michael Vick fan. I was.
You're welcome, Philly. Big Sills broke that story for you too.
Yes, you did. I was a huge Michael Vick fan. He was my favorite Eagles quarterback. But before then, I didn't, I was too young at the time. So I didn't, but my only memories of Donovan McNabb are that Super Bowl versus the Patriots. I mean, I was a youngster at the time. I was born in 98. So I was what, six years old at the time. That wasn't a good memory. And I remember that. That might be the one thing I remember from being 6 is fucking the Eagles losing the Super Bowl. I was at my aunt's house for a Super Bowl party, and we lose to the Pats. So that might be my only big memory. And I remember I used to throw worm burners at people's feet.
Good for you, man.
But Mike Vick was my guy, man.
Hey, I'll tell you just one quick thing. When I was younger, there was a guy. The old folks in this room will know who he is. When I was growing up, we had a guy in the New York area. His name was Marty Glickman. And Marty Glickman used to be the Giants voice, and he called all the games for my uncle. And then he went over to the Jets, and they didn't cut a deal in time with him or what have you. And Marty Glickman is one of the legendary people in the history of broadcasting. He started the Syracuse Broadcasting School. And so when I got into broadcasting, my uncle takes me up to the New York Jets at Shea Stadium. And I go up there and I sit and I go like this. He goes, go sit in there. I turn and look and I go, Mr. Glickman. And he's like, Marty Glickman took time with me, would sit there with me, wanted to help me become a broadcaster. And if you ever look the name Marty Glickman up, he's one of the most legendary people in the history of broadcasting. He was the first voice, play-by-play voice in the history of the National Football League for a local team. It was him. And I got a chance to be schooled by him and just go into, he was one of the people, him and Jim McKay helped me get into broadcasting, which, you know, there's certain guys you hear in your ear when you're a kid, you know, always remember Marty Glickman, or you always remember Merrill Reese. And Merrill reminds me of Marty Glickman because, like you said, it's not just a guy calling the games. He is the game. You know, Merrill, you're watching the game through his eyes.
He really is. And you know who else has become part of that for me in a way is Mike Quick. I just think he's such a great compliment to Merrill Reese. And obviously there's a warm place in all of our hearts. He was a great Eagles receiver. But I think the whole tandem in Philly is phenomenal. But that's a great story you shared there. So you got more great stories than anybody.
Man, I'm very lucky to have been around a lot of people. All right, Zander, tell folks what our number is right now and our likes. We're trying to get to 200, guys. I appreciate it. By the way, we're going to take a look at what game is it we're going to be looking at. The Washington
110, Phil's 110.
110. We got to pick it up just a little bit. You guys are right there online.
Wait, can I ask you one thing before I get out of here?
Yeah.
So I was getting called a fool this morning for how I view Micah Parsons. And I potentially have eagle-colored glasses on this. And how do you view Micah Parsons? Is he to you a generational talent? Is he better than Nick Bosa?
No. I'll tell you how I look at him. He's probably the most versatile outside guy in the league today who can cover tight ends and backs and rush the passer. His difficulty playing the run gets exposed when the Cowboys get run on. Him in a defense like an old Ravens defense or in a 40, like with the 49ers, he would be stupid, insane, phenomenal, because remember how Reddick picked his game up when they fixed the run game and he just took off for 15 sacks? He's that guy. But if you put him in a position where he has to be a guy who's the centerpiece to help your defense win on a consistent basis, and he's your only centerpiece, and you don't have multiple guys in there and workers in there, especially in the front four, he's a very overrated player. I think he's a finesse player. I don't think he's a dominant physical player like Myles Garrett. He's good, dude. He's going to make plays because he's a lot like Sileo in a way. He'll be out of position, but then he'll run himself back into the play because he's so athletic. But when you look at him and you go, Sills, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons, it's not close. Even T.J. Watt and him, they're just not close. They're not the same guy. And he gets looked at as the same guy. And then when you start talking about Taylor, that's where my hair stands up on the back of my neck. Taylor knocked people out in the run game, knocked people out, changed the position on the way the edge played. There's rules in the game today because of Lawrence Taylor. And I'll say it again, the two greatest, most dominant defensive players I've ever seen are Reggie and that dude. And if you gave me the latter, I'll take them. But he is not in that conversation. What are they saying? Why are they killing you on that?
Well, no, they killed me. And it's funny. I said basically what you said. I said it in a different way. And I didn't have as much context as you do because you are been around this game for a really long time. But I basically said he's a great player.
Yeah.
He's not a generational talent to me. And John McMullen really crushed me on it. He's like, you're delusional. You are eagle-colored delusional. He said he's going to be the highest paid player in the league. That's not a non-quarterback. He's going to be worth it. He's a game wrecker, generational talent. And I just said, I don't see Micah Parsons as that.
let me ask you something here.
I was told, and I was also told, though, by a lot of fans in the chat, the Eagles fans, they were like, you're way wrong, Xander. He is
okay.
And I'm like, I didn't say he wasn't a beast. I just said he's not generational.
So when John says he's going to be paid all that money, how about this? Is that so? Dak's going to get 60, CD's going to get 35, and this guy's going to get 35. Does that mean, John, that those three guys are the best quarterback in the league, the best wide receiver in the league? I wouldn't take him. I wouldn't take CD over Devontae. Okay, I mean, but because they're in Dallas, they're going to be overpaid. Everybody's overpaid in Dallas. Everyone in Philly is not. Look, think about that. Nobody in Philly's overpaid. Everyone in Dallas is overpaid. Always.
Yeah, they don't do business.
Story of the franchise.
Yeah, but I'm happy that I got to ask you about what you think of at least the player.
He's a really good player. He's a good player.
That's what I think.
And
too.
it's hard.
He's a great player. I don't think.
Watch this. I mean, Lawrence Taylor. How about this one? You think that guy's Derek Thomas?
Wait. So So sorry to keep you, but here's one other thing, right? Because this is how we got to that point. We did our top NFC teams. You remember we did that a couple days ago. Yeah. We did our top rosters. Yeah. So I did a little bit of that with John this morning. We did our top 7 because 7 make the playoffs. So I'm like, let's hear our 7. We didn't have Dallas. Neither of us had Dallas in our top 10. Now, I corrected mine. I realized Dallas is probably in my top 10. I had them at 7.
I didn't.
John McMullen had them at 4 in front of Green Bay.
Who's running the ball for them? They can't stop the run.
Yeah, he's like Dak and Micah and CD and all these, they're there, and they got Deron Bland and they got Trevon Diggs and they got – and I think the Cowboys are going to be a good team.
He must think CD Lamb's a better player than AJ then.
No, he doesn't think that.
Well, then he must think he's better than Tyreek Hill.
I don't know what he thinks.
Okay, well then he must think a lot of money. Micah Parsons, who was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, he thinks Micah Parsons is like the freaking.
Where was Micah Parsons when he had one sack in the last 8 games?
That's what this is exactly what I said. I'm like, John, this is not a game record, dude. The guy had nothing in the playoff loss. They got blown out.
Arizona ran the ball on him for 240 yards.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I love John and I love his opinion.
It's all good.
He
thinks I'm whacked out too, so we're good.
Yeah, he thinks I'm whacked out. He said it was my first Jody moment. That's what he called it. I'm like, oh God.
I love it. I love it. Don't forget to watch those guys in the morning on Birds 365. Jason Cole's going to join us in a couple minutes. Zander, great stuff, my friend.
Appreciate it, Sales. See you, everybody.
You got it. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.